poorly worded comparisons that claim Node is a web framework notwithstanding, Node is not a web framework. It's a platform. It's a platform with a few core libraries upon which a very rich ecosystem of community-generated modules was developed. If you keep progressing with Node, the day will come when you'll write your own module. In this episode, we're going to look at how you too can join the vibrant community of package creators. Even if you're not going to make a package yourself, being familiar with what's on the inside of a package.json file is useful. You'll be working with other packages, and it's good to know your tools. Also, Node core doesn't change very much. It's like a nice set of base building bricks. The extension of utility in the Node ecosystem comes from the wealth of packages available. If you want to extend Node and contribute to the community, then user space packages are likely where you can have the most immediate impact. We should probably answer an important question first. What exactly is an npm package? The simplest answer is that a Node package is a root directory containing code in whatever manner you want to organize it, but with one important property. You can have one file, you can have 100 files. You can have subdirectories in your package, or you may not. But the one thing you must have is that which makes your directory a Node package. A file named package.json. Inside package.json is everything Node needs to make sense of your package and to be able to load it into your app at runtime. A package.json file has a defined set of fields that you can read about. Of course, a video that just points you to a doc page isn't very useful, so we're going to take a tour of those fields so you can see how they affect your package. Let's get hacking. It all starts with npm, and I recommend making sure you have the latest version. Are you ready to get all meta? It turns out that npm is itself just a Node package. This one happens to be globally installed, the one time I won't freak out about that. To update to the latest version, simply run npm update-g npm. That should produce output that looks something like this. Hooray. Now we need to pick a directory where we're going to work on our module. You'll need to make the actual directory where all the code will live and then go inside it. We're going to make a package called Letter Opener. Its use case is for helping us test email in applications, and we'll see in later episodes why this is useful. Let's go ahead and make our directory for it. Make dir node letter opener, cd node letter opener. Now that we're in our packages directory, let's invoke npm to start the magic. npm init. This will kick off a script that will help you fill out your package.json file. It'll be a series of prompts with intelligent defaults. As a quick disclaimer, I've already created this package and it exists in the npm registry. The very first question npm asks is the name that we want to give to our package. It'll infer a default name from the directory that you're running npm init in. If that's correct, just hit enter. If not, type in the name you want. We're going to change it to just letter opener, so we type that. Our directory is node letter opener to distinguish it from letter opener modules in other platforms, but the package itself is just letter opener. This field determines what your package is named in the registry. By naming this just letter opener, we made it so that the npm website shows letter opener. Also, this choice means that when we use the package in an application, we require it by typing require letter opener. If we named it foobar_baz, then we type require foobar_baz. All this is to say, this name is very important because it's how users will find your package. When publishing to the npm global registry, you have a couple of options for it. The first is that if you want to publish your package and use only its name, then that name needs to be globally unique. Since I've already published Letter Opener, I'm sorry to say that you won't be able to. This could end up being a problem if you have a generic sounding package. The second option is available if you're using an npm version greater than 2.7.0, and you really ought to be at this point. In recent times, the hardworking and talented folks at npm Inc. have introduced the notion of scoped packages. As the documentation states, when you sign up for an npm account, you get your own scope under which to publish your package. Your scope is designated by the @ symbol followed by your npm username. You then add a slash and follow it with the name of the package. For example, my npm username is Ethan Garfolo. If scoped packages had been around when I published Letter Opener, I could have given it the name @ethangarfolo/letteropener. Then, people desiring to use this package would have run npm install --save @ethangarfolo/letteropener. And then to use it in their code, they would have required it via something like this. The takeaway is that if you scope it, you then keep scoping it every time you refer to it. Now, version and description, these are self-explanatory, but let's do note where the description shows up on the site. Entry point is another important field. Remember how I said, the simplest answer is that a node package is a root directory containing code in whatever manner you want to organize it, but with one important property. Well, this field is what takes your potentially crazy directory organization and makes some sense of it for Node. When you call require in Node, its first step is to identify the directory you're talking about. We went over that in episode 7, Node Code and Other Files. One cool trick is that you can require directories and not just individual files. In fact, when you require a module like Express, all you're doing is requiring a directory. But it still ends up just loading a single file. Let's have a look at how it figures out which file to load. Once Node has found your directory, it'll look for a package.json file. If it doesn't find one, then it's going to look for either index.js or index.json. If it doesn't find either one, then you get a runtime error. If it does find a package.json, then it looks for a field in that JSON blob with key main. The value of this key should be the path to the file you want it to load first. In our case, we're going to put our main file at lib/letteropener.js, so that's what we put when asked this question. Calling require on this directory would now be equivalent to require path to the directory itself, lib/letteropener.js. If package.json does not have the main field, then it falls back again to looking for index.js or .json. Now, the test command, having tests for your module is generally considered a good idea. Making them easy to run for contributors is an even better idea. Into this field, you put the command you would invoke to run all your tests. For example, if you had a make file and you ran your test via make test, then you would put make test into this field. Then when you later run npm test, npm would in turn just run make test. This field normalizes running tests on a project. You should always be able to just run npm test. Consider the value of this normalization in the context of a continuous integration service. I can't prove it in all cases, but a good heuristic I try to go by is that less guesswork is generally better. The Git Repository field is self-explanatory. There's a chance you won't yet have a Git repo set up, classic chicken and egg problem. If you don't, leave it blank. You can always add it later by manually adding something like the following into your package.json file. Just the repository key with an object whose properties are type and URL. And the type should be Git. Naturally, you'll want to change the repository.url field to match your own. Keywords are all about making your module more discoverable. They're useful in search and they show up on the NPM website here. Now the author, that's likely you. It's good form to let people who would use your module know how to reach you. A good value here is the your name left angle bracket, then your email address, right angle bracket format. You can also put in a URL for a total line that would look something like that. These can also be broken into separate key value pairs, and you can read about that at the NPM documentation if you so desire. While the NPM init doesn't ask for it, if your module has other maintainers, you can later add them as an array value under the contributors field. The values are the same, an array of strings or objects with name, email, and URL fields. Only a name is required in either case, and if you're feeling particularly misanthropic one day, you could mix and match the simple strings and object varieties. NPM doesn't care either way because it's a software program and good at parsing that sort of thing. Lastly, NPM will ask you about a license. It defaults to ISC. If you prefer MIT, you type MIT here. And now this has generated us a nice package.json file with all the values we supplied filled out. And technically, you now have a package. It doesn't do much, but you could actually publish this to NPM. So if you want to publish to NPM, you'll first need an NPM account. You do that via their sign-up page. And with your account created, you can then go to the command line and run npm login. It'll then prompt you to enter your account information. With that entered, you simply run npm publish, and npm takes care of the rest. A few caveats. If you're trying to publish a duplicate version number, it will appropriately fail. So always be sure to bump your version numbers before publishing a new version. You can use the npm version command supplying major, minor, or patch. It'll bump the appropriate number. And please follow semver, even if it isn't the end-all be-all ender of the need to communicate with other humans. Alright, so what's next? We technically did just build a module, but if you were to flood the registry with modules possessing this level of functionality, and the NPM folks even knew who I was and found out that you did so because you learned it here, they may digitally reprimand me. I'd rather that not happen, so stay tuned for a later episode when we'll see good practices for actually developing a module. Until next time, happy coding.